to start with talking about Red Dawn. Let's start with what was your thought process on choosing this particular movie?
I think it's, I always get the question of what's your favorite kids adventure movie from the 80s? And like, it could be Monster. I'm like, it's never Monster Squad. I never vote for ourselves. I think there's always two come to mind, and I almost, I could have very easily picked my other one. But if we're talking about kind of, nostalgia, and if we're talking about, kids banding together to, solve a problem or go on an adventure, everybody expects me to pick Monster Squad or The Lost Boys or The Goonies. Stand By Me is my other top favorite because I think it's a great story. It's a great movie, especially what the theming is and what it's about and friendship. And but everybody always gets a kick out of Red Dawn as my favorite kids adventure movie of the 80s. And they're like, that's not a kids adventure movie. I said, I beg to differ. It's the ultimate kids adventure movie because there are literally some stakes in this movie. So, plus if you're my age or a little bit younger or a tad older, we're all Cold War kids. And, that was all of our entertainment. And, to have the big bad, actually invade and, it's up to the kids in the neighborhood, literally, to save the world. I know a little something about that.
And what a lineup for a cast for 1984. I mean, and it was really, like, looking back at it now, it's like, damn, they had the Greasers and the Socials together.
Yeah, that was a big deal when he did that, because I think it was Darren Dalton was in that, and he was still the little bitch role, but nonetheless, he was still part of them, right?
Yeah.
So, Andre, who was your favorite Wolverine?
Oh, I don't. I like Leah Thompson and was it Jennifer Simply? Their arc, because they're the scared kind of stereotypical, like the scared girls that come out of the basement they're hiding, and then they turn around and become kind of badass.
Jennifer Grey.
They all do. That's Jennifer Grey. Yeah, sorry. And you might have to go with C. Thomas Howell, just because he's just that guy, but then he actually cracks and he just goes full on. he goes full bore, and and he's the one that takes out Dalton, and he's like, hey, this is it. In the movies, ironically, it still kind of holds up a bit because there were some real stakes. I think the movie making aspect of it would be different if we made it today. The pacing would be maybe a little different, but it's a survival movie. It's a coming together of a squad, and it's survival, life or death. And it's, that giant looming thing that we always, was afraid of as kids. And, we always felt kind of secure that we actually wouldn't get invaded. We would just get incinerated, from the air. Dropping under our school desks was really going to do a lot. And, I think that those characters, even, when you had the mix, I thought it was just a great story. Like, the actual Soviets, teamed up with, the Cubans, and because it was very stereotypical of the day. And, then they tried to do here's the rules of this. We're not talking about the remake. There is no reboot.
No, not at all.
But I think I think it came across as adventurous with a little bit of authenticity. The stakes were real. We lose everybody, and you kind of learn what it is. And there's no adult. There's barely any adults in this movie. So I think a lot of kids gravitated towards that because we hear a lot of that with Monster Squad conversations.
So a couple of fun facts about this movie, and Andre, you might already know this. Did you know that the CIA actually showed up to the movie site because there was rumors that the Russians were invading a town, and they had to show up? When the paratroopers came in, some of the paratroopers actually drifted too far out. One went as far as a mile down the road and was captured and had to convince locals that he was not really Russian invading America. So could you imagine that, like seeing that from the thing? But you would have thought they knew the movie was happening, though, right? Which was kind of weird.
You would think, but I don't know if all the local regional townsfolk, read the script.
Oh,
Scene one, exterior. Now, all of a sudden, men fall from the sky. It's like they might not have known that. I think it's fascinating, but I think it does it. It totally conveys kind of the day, and I'm not surprised that the agency showed up not knowing. They're like, oh, wait, is this actually happening? We didn't hear anything about it.
You wonder if they would send more than just 2 CIA agents, but because
they're like, I'm going to write a
what are they gonna
report
do?
about this.
Yeah, they couldn't even get away. And at the time, the movie had the most acts of violence. It was in the Guinness Book of World Records for most acts of violence for any movie at the time. So you can imagine that people around seeing that were like, whoa, what is going on here?
We lose everybody except for like two minor characters that go off, and they are Wolverines, and they're now the remnants of something that ended up being iconic, because I don't think something like the Wolverines, you're not going to go to like their 75th birthday party and, reminisce. It's like the story's not as impactful if they all made it.
Right.
And that's what I really like about the story is, it's not a happy ending. It's even though it's completely fictional, it's very realistic, has some authenticity, and nobody makes it. And except for two kind of minor characters who are the survivors, right? And everybody has, kind of their own, way they go out, and it's a little Hollywoody, but that's what we want. But at the end, you're like, well, shit.
Like, what happened?
It's sort of the anti, Hollywood movie, because it's, it's not a happy ending. It's except for the fact that, we won, like we won, it's like, but we lose our heroes. But that usually happens in bad stuff like that. But I think the authenticity real is like, if this ever happened, I hope I would step up and Wolverine.
Yeah.
And I think that there's no way, if Top Gun was a huge recruitment for the Navy, that Red Dawn wasn't a huge catalyst for kids that were turning 17, 18 years old a year or two later that, enlisted or went to a school, an academy, as inspired by that, because it was, you could certainly use Red Dawn as a piece of marketing or propaganda for us.
Absolutely.
To kind of, gung ho it all. And I'm sure it had an impact on people. But I was young, in '84, I was 11. So, I could go out in the backyard and Wolverine myself, but, or with some friends. And, but yeah, it's that stuff's all around you. And, we used to don't know what the world was going to be. Now the world's completely different. I think this scenario is actually more plausible today than it was in '84.